Starting in July, you may be one of the millions of workers entitled to overtime pay, even if you're a salaried employee. That's because the Department of Labor just made the biggest change in decades to which employees are required under federal law to be paid time and a half for working more than 40 hours a week. Last week, the Labor Department issued a new nationwide rule updating the salary threshold required for overtime pay under the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. The last time those salary thresholds were updated was back in 2019. So beginning on July 1st of 2024, salaried workers earning less than $43,888 a year will qualify for time and a half if they work more than 40 hours a week. That's up from the current ceiling of $35,568 a year. Then on January 1st of 2025, the threshold will increase again. Salaried employees working more than 40 hours a week, making less than $58,656 a year will also be entitled to overtime pay of time and a half. And after that, this new rule says the salary thresholds will be revisited every 3 years and will be automatically adjusted based on the current wage data. Almost all hourly workers are automatically entitled to overtime pay in the U.S., but these new rules are a big deal because it expands the number of salaried workers who will now be entitled to OT. The Labor Department says millions of workers will be affected by these changes. Now, there are definitely salaried employees who are absolutely not eligible for overtime. Those employees are called exempt. Obviously, if your salary is more than $43,888 a year after July 1st, you would likely fall into the white-collar exemption that applies to executive, administrative, or professional employees. You would not qualify for overtime. The law also specifically exempts certain computer employees from overtime pay, and the law exempts highly compensated employees from getting overtime pay. To be classified as a highly compensated employee, you have to meet all three of the requirements I'm about to share with you. 1, you must have a primary duty performing office or non-manual work. 2, you must customarily and regularly perform at least one executive, administrative, or professional duty. That includes things like the power to hire and fire others. And 3, this is the new change. Your annual salary starting on July 1st of 2024 is more than $132,964 a year and more than $151,164 a year starting on January 1st of 2025. Previously, the threshold was $107,432 a year. So if you met those 3 requirements, you will not be eligible for overtime pay. And as of July 1st, this will be the minimum standard across the country. However, this new rule does not stop a state from establishing more protective overtime standards. So if a state is more generous with its overtime requirements and that benefits workers, then that state standard will trump this federal one. Lastly, it is very important for you to understand this new rule will absolutely be challenged in the courts. Business groups in 21 states were successful in getting the courts to strike this down back in 2016 when President Obama tried to do something very similar. So it is very possible that these changes will not actually be able to take effect in July. We'll just have to wait and see what the courts say. It's also important for you to make sure you fully understand your personal job description and how your work duties are classified by your employer. Are you classified as an executive, administrative, or professional employee? This may impact your overtime. You should know that stuff, and you should also pay attention to these new salary thresholds. It's possible your employer may try to give you a raise so you exceed these new thresholds, and then you won't qualify for overtime pay. So if you want to read all about this from the Department of Labor, I'm going to email everything out to you tonight in my News Girl News Roundup email, so make sure you sign yourself up.